Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm really excited to share a build that's actually been widely requested in the comments over the last month or so, which is to do an accessible family home or an accessible home. This one actually is just a one-bedroom house for a couple, but a home that is more accessible as it is currently Disability Pride Month. So I wanted to keep in mind a couple of different things while I was doing this. I didn't want it to just be for one specific sort of disability. And I thought the best way to do that was actually to build this over on Twitch first, as a large amount of our community over there is part of the disability community. So we kept a lot of discussions open and really discussed different things to include, things that might be nice to represent and kind of open a discussion about disability in real life, as well as how we can represent some of that in The Sims. So the first thing you can see me doing here is including a ramp outside for wheelchair access, and I move it away from the house a bunch of different times because it is made out of a roof piece, and whenever you alter the structure with a roof piece on a floor, like attaching to the foundation, it will delete the roof piece. So I moved it off to the side, but I planned out where it was going to go. And another thing that I really wanted to keep in mind in this house is for it to only be one floor, as well as having lots of space to navigate around, because with the ramp being added here, we were assuming that there was a Sim who was a wheelchair user, which is not something we currently have in The Sims. But I'm very curious if they'll continue to add some more disability representation into the game. We've been getting medical wearables and stuff in some of the more recent updates, and I really hope they continue to do that, because The Sims is a game where it's very, important to be able to represent yourself, and I feel like this is an underrepresented area in the game. And so I thought it was a really awesome idea when I got this suggestion from some of y'all to go ahead and do this. And I've also seen some other simmers do this as well. One of my good friends, Sims, who is a fantastic Twitch streamer, has done quite a few builds that are to be more accessible. She even at one point built like a fully realistic looking wheelchair on the inside of a home to really represent that. And she's just super talented in combining items and making things look really good in the game. So I would highly recommend you check her out if you have not already. I'll have a link in the comment section or in the description down below to her Twitch channel. She's awesome. But anyway, I also was keeping in mind other disabilities, and I didn't want to include absolutely everything in this house because I wanted this to be somewhat realistic, and it's only one house, so there's only so many things you can include in one space. So not everything will be included here, but if this is something you'd like to see more of, or just some ideas you'd like to see in future builds, definitely let me know. But I will talk about the different things and why I placed them as we get to them. But right now we're just working on the floor plan, having a really wide open space, big hallways, lots of room around everything. And I also, one of the things that chat suggested, which I liked the idea of, was to limit the amount of overhead lighting, because the big light is bad. And I was like, yes. So right now there's overhead lighting, but that's just because I'm floor planning and it's easier to see. But I will be deleting a lot of that and going with like smaller lamps throughout, floor lamps, table lamps, all of that. Not in every space, but in the living room for sure, to make it way more cozy. And I'm overall pretty happy with how this build came out. It's pretty sparsely furnished because I wanted to make sure there was enough space around everything. So it was challenging for me in that way, because I feel like with the amount of space this house has, I normally would have made this a 2 or 3 bedroom house, but I wanted to make sure everything was really spaced out. So anyway, this is going to be the kitchen space. I just have it as a big open room with the counters wrapping around these 2 walls, and of course getting our fridge and our sink. And then we don't end up having a table in the kitchen. I end up putting it outside of the kitchen. And I also wanted to make sure we had a microwave, because you don't always have the spoons to go ahead and prep a full meal. I also wanted easy access to like bread as well as fruit, so we should be getting a fruit bowl. And we decided to put that fork and the spoon above the stove as kind of like a nod to spoon theory. If you're not familiar with spoon theory, it's basically a way of explaining energy levels within disabled populations. So for example, maybe you only have 10 spoons each day. That's the amount of energy that you are given for that day. However, every single thing you do requires a certain amount of spoons, a different amount of spoons, and sometimes you don't have enough to do everything you'd like to in a day. It's a really good way of explaining how things work. So for example, like maybe getting out of bed or showering, take a spoon or two each, depending on the day. It depends on if you're sick. Maybe if you're sick, you lose 4 of those spoons and you're already down from getting up and eating, showering, and not feeling well to half of your energy for the day. So I just thought it would be nice to include that. And I, of course, got all kinds of other like easy to grab snacks. There's also that decorative piece from the Everyday Clutter Kit that has like some medical supplies in it. And this is the fruit that I had mentioned. I also added a Lindsay speaker in here, which is basically a Alexa. And I thought that would be really useful to have to play music, or just having something where your Sims can be like, hey, add this to a list, add this to whatever. Having like a smart device like that seems like it would be very helpful. And then over here, I just got like a bookcase and a mirror and a hutch and, just decorating the space a bit. But a lot of the decorations and items they put around, I was really thinking about the functionality of them. And it was really interesting having chat there to discuss because we were talking about all sorts of disabilities, and the only input I could really put on all of that is autism. I have talked a couple of times minorly about this on the channel, but definitely over on Twitch and on Twitter as well. But I'm autistic, and so I was trying to input a little bit into things that I would like to see in this space. Obviously, there's a bigger focus on physical disabilities in this home with the ramp and the bigger spacing. But the lighting and the fact that I refuse to put a clock on the wall that ticks because I'm not, no. If you relate, let me know. I can't handle that. But we also ended up having like some big headphones in here so you can wear those whenever to noise cancel. I am always wearing my headphones at home, my over-the-head headphones. You've probably seen them in videos and in stream. They're noise canceling. They're very important to me. So we ended up including those in the living room. And I also am adding some of these like more mood lights here so we don't have the harsh overhead light. And I loved the one with the giraffe on it. I just thought that was really fun. So we ended up adding that there next to where I put these headphones. And then I also am having like bags and stuff by the door, like easy to grab items when you have to head out. I also tried to put like the light switches and hooks and stuff in here lower down on the walls, so that way it was easier to grab for our Sim who's a wheelchair user. I'm not sure which Sim is which. I was just imagining there was a couple living here, so it's supposed to be accessible for both of them. And I just have like little containers of stuff all over the place, so there's easy access everywhere in the house to whatever they might need. And you'll see that in the bedroom as well. The bedside table ends up having like snacks and medicine and stuff for those days when you just can't get out of bed. I wanted to make sure that it had that. Obviously, these are not things that are gameplay in The Sims currently. I don't know if they ever will be, because I understand them not wanting to put like negative things in the game. But at the same time, these are realistic things that a lot of people go through. And I feel like there's probably a mod for it. I feel like there's a mod for everything. If you know any mods that add some of these gameplay options to the game, definitely let me know. I'd be very curious to hear about that. I know it's a little disheartening when you can't like represent your Sim in the game or yourself as a Sim in the game. I mentioned the disability wearables before, and we have like glucose monitors, and I'm trying to think of everything they added. We have hearing aids. I almost called them ear aids. Hearing aids. And I believe we also got like top surgery scars and a bunch of other stuff. And I think that's a step in the right direction. And hopefully we'll continue to get more of that kind of stuff. because obviously those things don't add gameplay, but they do add realism. For the bathroom here, I wanted to have a big shower tub combo. This chair here is supposed to be like a shower seat, so your Sims can sit down while they take a shower. I didn't place it in the shower because I didn't want it to affect the shower actually functioning for gameplay, but I still felt like it gave the right idea. And then I put those metal bars on the walls as like grips for helping you to get in and out of the shower and on and off the toilet. And we just get like a little bath rug. Anyway, this is the primary bedroom, the only bedroom in this house, and it did take me a while to figure out what swatches I wanted to do in here. I wanted it to be calming, but not like bland. I feel like this whole house is very calming and like warm wood tones, and I was really happy with that because a lot of times on the outside of builds, this one included, I start going for the brown swatches and then I decide that it doesn't look good and I want to change everything to like white windows. And I considered doing that, and my chat suggested that I didn't because everyone was liking how this looked and I was liking it as well, but it's just not something I'm super comfortable with, not confident with. So it was nice to have their feedback to keep that in. And as you can see, here are those like bottles of medicine and snacks and stuff on the bedside tables that I mentioned earlier. We also have an alarm clock, a rocking chair in here. We also have one in the living room. I also put tissues in here. We end up getting like wet wipes as well, or like wet tissues, which are just the baby wipes from the base game. But I thought that that was a really good idea to have. And that was a chat suggestion as well. And just like stuff around for the sim to use, and regular everyday stuff. Like not everything in this house is like because they're disabled, because you're not necessarily defined by your disability, but it's definitely a part of your life. And I thought it would be nice for this month to represent that in the Sims. Once again, thank you to everyone that suggested this. It was really nice to open up the conversation during stream and talk about this. And of course, we're opening a conversation right now. If you would like to discuss in the comments, I would love to hear your opinions on things you would like to be added in the game as far as disability goes. And maybe the Sims will hear us, and we'll see what gets added in the future. But anyway, in the backyard, I thought it would be nice to have a pool. I feel like that's really good for like aquatic therapy. It's really great on your body. A lot of like chronic pain and stuff can be helped through floating. I know that's not the case for everything, but I thought that that was a nice idea, that this sim really needs their time in the water. I also added a hot tub back here for the same sort of idea of like soaking in a warm area. So we have all of that, as well as like a table and chairs out here for like barbecues and hanging out and lounging in the pool. You know, lots of fun activities as well. But I just wanted some of it to be purposeful for the concept of this video and of this build, since it's the whole reason I made it. And I also had to keep remembering that there was going to be another ramp back here, because obviously I have that issue where it doesn't clip to the right place or it disappears when I'm editing anything else. So I had to keep moving it out of the way. So remembering that I didn't want to put decorations there because I needed to move the ramp back was kind of important. But anyway, we're back out front now and we are finalizing the wallpapers. I wanted to use some more of this rock, which came from Growing Together, as did the other siding, and the doors and windows are all from Seasons, but I thought that they matched pretty nicely. They're both that sort of craftsman style. I also really love the more triangular window I have in the front of the house. I just think it's such a nice piece and gives some height to this one-story home. But just adding some landscaping now, getting lots of low-lying bushes and some of those shrubs out front. And I believe we're going to be adding a car to the driveway as well. Every time I use these cars, I get asked about them. They're not functional. They are part of the debug and show live edit objects catalogs. If you like watch in the game, in the background, cars will just drive by. It's those cars. They're not functional whatsoever. They just look nice. So I do like to add them to build sometimes for realism, to have like a driveway and stuff like that. I also drew out kind of a weird shaped fence over here. It just felt like odd that the lot ended there. So I thought having some sort of fencing would help. And I think it did. It's a weird shape. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I think it looks good. So that's why I put that. And then just getting some more bushes out front. And then we should be heading on into screenshots. Thank you so much for watching. Let's discuss more about this in the comments down below. Happy Disability Pride Month to everyone. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. Enjoy those screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.